Before we begin this podcast, please be advised that the following episode contains language that some listeners may find offensive and inappropriate. The opinions expressed by the host and guests are their own and do not reflect the views of the podcast producers. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome back to Voices of a Killer. This week, we're talking to Anthony Frenzel, an inmate in a maximum security prison in Potosi. Unlike many of his fellow inmates who await death row, Anthony's crime took place not in a dark alley or behind closed doors, but down a strip of country highway in broad daylight. In 2020, Anthony unintentionally killed an oncoming driver in a car accident, a mistake he deeply regrets. Anthony's case is unique to others we've had on this podcast as, at the time of our conversation, his trial is still ongoing. With the story unresolved, many questions linger unanswered. Yet Anthony's story gives us insight into how the law punishes vehicular-related deaths. How can we fairly hold irresponsible drivers accountable? And how do individuals like Anthony often receive the short end of the legal stick? Join us for a story about beefed-up charges, reckless driving, and a 2-year-long wait for trial on this episode of Voices of a Killer.
So, Anthony, where are you born and raised?
St. Louis area, outside St. Louis.
And how would you describe your childhood growing up? You had it easy or a difficult time or what?
It wasn't too bad. I guess like your normal middle-class upbringing. It was a pretty good childhood for real.
Yeah. Did you have siblings?
Yeah, I got an older sister.
Do you have a relationship with all your family while you're in prison?
No, there's a couple people that are still in my corner, but most of them aren't. I don't talk to most of them.
Why? Is it because of what happened they don't talk to you?
Some of it, yeah. Both my parents are dead. My stepdad's still in the car with me. My family split up. Once I started doing dumber stuff, they didn't talk to me much, and then all this happened. So it was only...
When you started doing what, they stopped talking to you?
Dumber stuff, like getting in trouble. And
yeah, what age did you start getting into trouble?
Well, I got a DUI. I got a couple DUIs when I was in my early 20s. And then I got a couple drug charges when I was like 23 or 24.
So you say you had a pretty normal childhood and you didn't really witness too much drugs and alcohol with your family. What made you go down that route?
I started drinking a lot in high school, well, middle school really. Just hanging out with like kind of the party crowd. And I started drinking real bad and just kept on drinking.
What do you consider real bad?
Well, during like high school in my earlier drinking days, I would just get drunk all weekend long, and then started getting an every night thing, and then progressed into waking up, having a couple shots just to kill the hangover, going to work and drinking throughout the day, and just keep drinking. I started drinking heavily, probably 18, 19.
Had you ever went to a rehab or anything like that?
I did a drug treatment in my 20s with DOC treatment.
How many DUIs or DWIs do you have total?
3 of them.
So I'm sure drinking is a huge problem in our country, with drinking and driving, I should say. I can remember I grew up in the 80s in Louisiana, and the drinking age there was still 18. And I got loved ones and family members, friends of loved ones, whatever, that have gotten killed by drunk drivers. It's like cancer. Everybody knows somebody that's died for cancer. It's like everybody knows it's somebody that's either gotten a DWI, going to prison for it, or killed somebody in a wreck. It's a really, really big deal.
Every day, some 37 people die from alcohol-related car crashes in the U.S. Dig into the data and you'll see that most of these drunk drivers are under 25 years of age. It's this demographic that's most likely to drive irresponsibly. Newly licensed kids are young and reckless. They feel invincible to the world and impervious to the law. Young and reckless would also be an apt description of a 20-something Anthony Frenzel. Anthony tells me that his problematic relationship with alcohol began right around middle school. As he grew older, it progressed into what sounds like a dependency, with Anthony having to take drinks just to make it through the day. This drinking habit, Anthony tells me, alienated members of his family who wrote him off as a troublemaker. It also led to 3 separate DUI incidents in which cops caught Anthony driving while inebriated. I wanted to hear more about these 3 DUIs. How did Anthony rack up so many in just a short space of time? More on that after the break.
Bring me back to the first time you got your first DUI or DWI. Were you drunk or on drugs or both or what?
I was drunk.
And how much did you drink that day?
Oh, a whole bunch. It was, I blew like a .02 or .2.
Yeah.
It was really high.
So
just ignorantly high.
Yeah. So what were you doing to get pulled over? Were you just driving erratically or what?
Yeah, swerving a little bit, and I was driving somebody home, and he was acting a fool out of the window of the truck.
So that was your first DUI, DWI, whatever you want to call it, and you probably got a misdemeanor for that. And it was probably a whole lot of trouble you had to go through to take care of that issue. How much did that deter you from drinking and driving after that, the first time?
Oh, none, almost none. That first DUI was over in Kansas, and since I was from out of state, they just kind of made me pay a fine, and that was it. Didn't lose my license, didn't have to do any of that rigmarole you have to do around here.
Do you, looking back, do you wish they would have done something different to you?
No, absolutely. I wish it would have been a lot harder, because that was like the start of
right.
the
So
downworld
obviously,
kind of thing.
And we'll get to this later. You're in prison for drinking and driving and hurting somebody. What should they have done to make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Taking a license, some prison time, and then like some actual rehab type classes.
So you think that your first time getting pulled over, you just blew alcohol, you didn't hurt anybody, they caught you drinking and driving. You think that you and everyone else that gets caught the first time should go to prison?
At least jail time, but it's definitely something a little heavier than just what it is now.
But you're saying that you got your first DWI and it wasn't enough to deter you. How soon after the first one did you get caught drinking and driving again?
So I didn't get caught for another.
This second one, how much were you drinking or doing drugs?
I was drinking a lot. I've been drinking all day long.
Was anybody with you whenever they saw you leave to drive drinking like that?
No,
So you were on your own? Nobody could have said, hey, you shouldn't drive?
Yeah, no, there wasn't nobody around.
What about the first time? You think somebody could have said, hey, man, that's not safe. You could get in some legal trouble or hurt somebody yourself?
No, absolutely. Yeah, somebody should have said something. But
ultimately, you're the adult, but we do need help from time to time. So your second one, how old are you on your second one?
21, I think.
So 21, and you're going on your second DUI. Where did this happen at?
In Pacific.
In Pacific. What were you doing that day?
I just got off work and I was going to meet a buddy to go fishing.
You got off work, so you'd been drinking at work?
Yeah.
What kind of work did you do?
I was a mechanic on a golf course.
Did they know you were drinking on the job, or you hid it?
No, I had to hide it.
You had to hide it. What did you drink to hide it like that, to be able to work?
Little shooters, just little fireball shooters.
Nobody at work ever called you out on it, boss or nothing?
No, the boss never did, but a bunch of the other dudes would drink with me while we was working. So it wasn't like a strange thing.
Kind of like accepted a little bit?
Yeah.
So whenever you left and you'd been drinking pretty much the day, you were going to meet a friend to go fishing. Did you make it to your friend or the fishing spot, or you got pulled over before then?
No, I got pulled over before that.
What was the reason he pulled you over?
Speeding.
Speeding. And how easy was it for him to tell that you'd been drinking?
I know he said I could smell it. He could smell it on me. And there was an open container in the truck.
Did he make you get
so
out?
I gave it away. Yeah.
Did you go through the whole sobriety thing, or did he do a breathalyzer on you? What happened?
There were a couple of different, like the walk the line, the eye test, and I passed them. But then the supervisor pulled up, and he had a portable breathalyzer, and he said he had to have me blow it before he let me leave.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
What did you blow?
0.1 something.
Wow.
I think.
And 0.08 is actually the legal limit, and you actually were 0.1 something.
Yeah.
So that's pretty drunk. So now you're on number 2, but this is actually a different state. You said your first one was in Kansas?
Yeah, over in Shawnee County.
How does Missouri recognize a second DWI when the first one was out of state? How'd that work?
They saw it as my first one.
Okay. But in reality, it's actually your second. What did Missouri do to you for your first Missouri DWI?
I think I got 30 days in the county jail, and I had to do a SATOP class and some community service and pay some fines.
Do you think out of any of that stuff there, was there any point in time at your age back then that you would have said to yourself, I need to make some major changes or somebody's going to get hurt? Because I know those classes teach you like, hey, listen, you're playing Russian roulette when you drink and drive. You're going to end up killing somebody or hurting yourself or maybe hurting somebody really bad. So that's why they do those, to let you know that you could change the lives of others or yourself permanently. Did anything get through to you?
No, I was arrogant and didn't think that. I never thought I'd be one of the people they talk about.
Why do you think you like that?
I don't know, maybe just a little bit of a God complex as a kid, thinking I was above everything, and that the people trying to tell me what was could or would happen didn't know what they were talking about.
Classes that were right there with you or thinking?
A fair number of them.
What should they have done that time that you got a DWI in Missouri? Should they have put you in prison?
It probably would have helped. I think, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of stuff. Fines, community service, the classes you got to take, your record. You did 30 days in jail. You said you did 30 days in jail, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Nearly all U.S. states recognize the legal blood alcohol limit to be 0.8%, but the way they enforce their DUI laws can vary wildly. In some states, you'll be let off with a light fine or suspended license. In others, you're looking at jail time, even if it's your first drunk driving offense. With 3 DUIs under his belt in 2 different states, Anthony has seen all kinds of charges: community service, SATOP classes, jail time. He's been subjected to every possible punishment that's meant to deter people from driving irresponsibly. None of it has worked. Anthony, it seems, didn't take any of his charges very seriously. He considered attending classes or paying off fines to be little more than an annoyance, and made no genuine effort to redress his reckless behavior. Although warned about the dangers of drunk driving, Anthony shrugged it off, somewhat detached from the risks associated with his behavior, as if the classes he attended didn't apply to him. It's this callous, don't care attitude that Anthony now regrets in hindsight. None of these interventions he took to heart, and as a result, things were about to get a whole lot worse.
During that program, so you got your DWI in Missouri, you're out and you start going through the system. Did you ever drink and drive again while you were doing that?
Yeah, fairly regularly.
So now you've got your second one and nothing's changed. You're still drinking and driving. You said you did drugs. What kind of drugs are you doing?
Shortly after that, in my second DUI, I started using meth.
Meth. Okay. Why? Had you ever done it before, or it was the first time was after the second DWI?
A handful, maybe 6-7 months after my second DUI.
And that was the very, very first time? You waited all the way to your early 20s to do meth?
Yeah.
How did you get introduced to that? Was it a friend, a girl, a coworker?
Yeah, a friend of mine. After me and my baby mama split, I moved out with him, and he introduced me to it.
What did you think whenever he introduced you to it? Would you like, because all those years you'd probably like, I don't do that kind of stuff. I just drink. Now you have this moment to like basically be somebody that uses meth. What would have caused you to jump that fence?
I was depressed and I was drinking all night and just really didn't care too much about what was going on in my life.
Got you at a vulnerable time. So how did that make you feel doing it the first time? Did you snort it?
No, I smoked it.
How did it make you feel? Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it. It killed some of it sobered me up a little bit and gave me energy to work. I could keep working 16 hours a day and then still be up all night to drink and have energy the next day and getting high. Just keep going in that party and work day by day.
Yeah. So from the first time you did meth till the accident that put you in prison, how much time are we talking?
5 years, 4 years, something around there.
In that 4 or 5 years, did you start doing meth pretty regularly?
Yeah. At first, it started off just a little bit in the morning, just to get me through the day. And after a few months, it progressed to, like a regular usage throughout the day.
Yeah. So isn't that crazy that you went so long into your adult life, a teenager, you don't mess with it, you graduate from I assume you get done with high school, you're drinking heavily and partying and stuff, and then it takes you all the way to what, 21, 22, you said, till you do meth?
Yeah.
And then after that, it was almost instantly you were just basically doing it all the time. What kind of effects did that have on you with your job and relationships with your family and stuff?
With jobs, I'd leave jobs for just stupid reasons. I'd work 6 months to a year for them, and then I'd quit or get fired, strain whatever relationships I have with my family and like my baby mama, and I just quit caring about things. I turned extremely selfish.
Yeah. Did you ever have any close calls or maybe even a hit and run during your career of drinking and driving?
I had a bunch of close calls, ended up a few bumpers, running off in ditches or whatever.
Have you ever hurt anybody on the roads and left?
No, thank God.
Yeah. That happens quite a bit. Usually it's somebody in your scenario where they're drinking and they're like, oh, shit. Here's the deal, man. I see a lot of cases. It's just the way it is. It seems like in almost all 50 states, if you drink, you drive, and you hurt or kill somebody, the odds of you getting away clean with that is very, very low. And that's where the system is messed up, because I think some scenarios, if you know somebody, you got a good lawyer, you may be able to get off a little bit lighter. But usually if someone is hurt or killed and you're driving, you're going to prison. I've seen it a lot.
Despite several scares and close calls on the road, Anthony continued his habit of drinking and driving. Not only that, he had also begun taking methamphetamine. Once you get hooked on it, meth is a slippery slope, and what followed next was a long downward spiral for Anthony. Over the course of 4 or 5 years, he turned from a casual to a regular meth user, sending shockwaves into all aspects of his life. He battled to hold down a job, he estranged his family members, and he broke the trust of loved ones. As is a common theme on Voices of a Killer, Anthony found himself going down a violent and destructive trajectory, hurtling towards what could only end in disaster. In late November 2020, that disaster struck. We'll find out how on the next installment of Anthony's story on Voices of a Killer. If you want to find out what happens next, right now, you can sign up at patreon.com/voicesofakiller. There you can find bonus content, early access, ad-free listening, and access to our chat community. So go to patreon.com/voicesofakiller to sign up now. Your support is what keeps us passionate about bringing these stories to you. I want to thank Anthony for sharing his story with us today. His ability to be open and honest is what makes this podcast so special.
A big shout out to Sonic Futures, who handled the production, audio editing, music licensing, and promotion of this podcast. If you want to hear more episodes like this one, make sure to visit our website at voicesofakiller.com. There you can find previous episodes, transcripts, and additional information about the podcast. Lastly, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving us a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Your feedback helps us improve and reach new listeners. Thank you for your support, and we can't wait to share more stories with you in the future. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Toby, and we'll see you next time on Voices of a Killer.